Hello my fellow HEMA students, welcome back. Today's footage is of class 5. And in this class, we do some basic cuts, but cuts to the 4 openings. Head instructor Alexander is going to cover that in the first bit. We're also doing some active parries, though that's not the entire focus of the class. We did get into that quite a bit. And towards the end of the class, we look at some winding, though I don't have footage of that yet. We ran out of time a little bit towards the end, and the video was running long, so I ran out of sort of footage length to kind of compress this into a bite-sized chunk. But there's a lot to cover, so let's jump right into the footage. Enjoy. Make sure you've got that in mind. So it's Oberhau, Unterhau, Unterhau, Oberhau. Okay, so that's the pattern we're going to work with. So the key I want us to focus on here tonight is getting good 45-degree angles. Okay, so we know about the 4 openings, right? So if I cut a line vertically down him, and then kind of at the navel, upper, upper, lower, lower. So upper right, upper left, lower right, lower left. So that's our target areas. So specifically with these cuts, that's what I'm aiming for. Okay, so we're going to add that. So one partner is going to be doing the 4-cut pattern, and the other is going to be doing simple parries, inside and outside. So he could hit my hand. So we're going to do this slowly to be careful. So he's going to do that pattern to start with. So I'm just going to step back. Okay, so I want him, he should be doing the cuts properly, nothing, like coming up vertically or weird angles, but we're going to start this slow so I can track his sword and notice how I'm just doing a simple inside-outside parry. He's taking a passing step forward, I'm taking a passing step back. So he needs to get full reach like we've been training on these cuts. We're going to do it slow to start with. He might be a little concerned about hitting my hands, but it shouldn't be a problem. So do this slowly. So notice he cuts up high, just the normal inside parry we've been doing. Okay, the next cut is going to be low. The only difference is I'm just lowering my hands slightly. If I stay up high, the target likely would be my hands. So we want to get comfortable of moving from this kind of position. Inside, outside, slightly lower. So it's just a fluid movement. This is all an inside parry, but depending on the cut he's doing. So, okay, so once again, so it's going to be here. Okay, and then we're going to trade. Let's keep your roll, and then we'll swap sides. Okay, so let's go ahead and line up this way. Cut.
Good. The only thing I see is just make sure as you're backing up, you're letting your feet get kind of close. So you want to, even as you're descending, you want to come back with a good solid stance as you carry. Because that's ultimately going to let you move back forward when you need to.
So this is going to make you guys doing the cuts think a little bit about it. If I just walk like this, I'm all up in his face, and that's not good for either of us. So this is my distance. He's not moving like he's against the wall in theory. So look how I'm having to step. So I'm going to keep that pattern. So notice how he's slightly lowering for those. And so let's actually let's keep the pattern because we don't all have gloves. So we're still going to do high, low, low, high. Okay, high, low, low, high. So I'm basically doing triangle steps in front of him. Okay, so it's kind of a different challenge of doing your footwork. You're going to find if you don't do it properly, you're going to creep closer and closer to him, and we don't want to do this. We want to be in the distance we're training to be at, as if we're out of measure, and I step in with the cut. If I get any closer than that, then it's wrestling range, okay? So when I say in fencing range, so
He's gonna do a strong parry. I'm gonna bounce off of it and keep cutting. Okay? Let's try it. Okay? You get sloppy and you get into doing it, you know, with your feet like this. But this is a time to be, you know, we want to train to be as technical as we can. So every cut, I'm doing this, okay, which is no different than a passing step, other than I'm being stationary. I'm just replacing my feet. So I'm just not moving forward, advancing, or retreating. It wouldn't be much different if I were doing it from the side, but we're just staying right in front of the other guy. So it's just like here. So whatever it takes, do this at a pace where you don't lose track of what your feet are doing. Okay, that's the key here. Because the moment that starts to happen, everything starts to fall apart. If you're not in control of your feet, you get stumbled up, you're in a bad position, you're not in the proper distance. So we want to master knowing what our feet are doing and the range we are from the opponent. Okay? One thing is your first cut. The higher keep that hair back. Yeah, you're close. Okay, let's try from there.
You're wanting to actually create more of a wall by having your point out and using the long edge. Because if Alexander cuts at me, we'll just do one cut and just stop. If he cuts at me and I parry here, watch what the dynamic if I give in that center. See, he's so much, I mean, yeah, I hit his sword, but the odds are, or even, you know, even if we're here, all he has to do is turn up into ox on that side. And look, he's right there. But if instead I parry and I create that distance, now he goes to wind up in ox. See, I've got much more of a chance to do something. So don't fall into that just, oh, I'm just going to kind of touch it, but I'm keeping this like point in the middle. You literally want, in these cases, your point up and slightly to the outside. And then if it's lower, you're just bringing it down against your body. If it's higher, and be careful, like I saw a few people, like if he goes to cut at me, they're kind of chasing the parry. Like, and he cuts to the other side, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to chase it. So in this case, you're just being purely defensive. You're letting it come, and then you might bump it as it cuts in, but I'm not seeing it coming and going after it. Okay? So just think, that's a couple things to think about when you work on this in the future, just for yourself, as you just work through this in your mind. Why do I want my point out slightly? Why do I not want to chase his sword with my parry?
The classic example, because when you're fencing somebody, you're always looking for patterns, okay? So I see a pattern. If I noticed a pattern of him doing what he was just saying, going for the sword, what's the smart thing for me to do? Go ahead and do that cut and let him do that extra wide parry? No, is to feint and cut around, right? So it's a telegraph that I saw, pattern I saw, so I avoid it.
Yeah, and I would have all that momentum going that way, expecting, and then when it's not there, I'm even more so going to be pushed and create an opening I didn't have to create.
Right, and that's why we want to be as efficient, relaxed with this position as possible. And then obviously using the strong of the sword. That's the main rule number one with this, which everybody looked like they were doing a pretty good job of, but you probably notice when you don't quite get that. If you hit further up the sword, your parry is not as good. It's not as controlled. Whereas, I don't need to, the more of an angle I create, the more of a challenge it makes that. So that's why we say starting out, don't worry about the point and the angle. I'm just closing that line and getting my strong to on his sword. That's the focus here. That's the basis of the strong period. Okay?
Hey, thanks again for sticking around for a longer video. I think we had a good amount of material though to go over, and I really wanted to showcase I thought with some really good exchanges in practicing the lesson that head instructors Alexander and Chris gave us today. Again, if you like the content, make sure to leave a like. That would be nice. And if you have any questions, you may want to post it in the chat. So that's something that we can start if that's something that we would find valuable. And again, really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.